This is crazy. What's up? What's up? What's up? We're back. We are back. Just for a short second, though, not long. I wanted to talk to you guys about this insane story coming out of Dallas. It's really sick, too. And what, weren't you just watching this show? Weren't you just watching that show a few weeks ago about that funeral? Isn't that the same thing you were watching on TLC a few weeks ago? That funeral home, right? Oh, okay, okay. Um, well, I know that this particular family has had a show on TV. It's called Best Funeral Ever. Best Funeral Ever. Hey, Cynthia, what's up, babe? So yeah, well, let's talk about this real quick. These are pretty incredible accusations. So last month, a former worker at the Golden Gate Funeral Home in Dallas on I-45 sent an email to 187 email addresses, not knowing where really these emails would go, with an attached photo. And this photo that was attached appeared to depict decaying corpses stacked in twos, perhaps even three deep, packed into an unrefrigerated rental truck from U-Haul. Other photos showed corpses crammed into tight spaces in a funeral home back room surrounded by filth. Listen, if any of you guys have ever been in Dallas and you've ever rolled on 45 into 75, or even just been on that stretch where it headed from Dallas to Houston, you will have seen the Golden Gate Funeral Home. It's a huge, huge complex. It's a huge funeral home in Dallas. It's a primarily Black funeral home. They primarily bury Black people. It's a place where the Black community typically goes for their funerals. I mean, come on, let's keep it real. Like, we still keep a separation there when it comes to undertakers, right? Well, this this email was sent on February the 5th. It was distributed to local and state officials as part of a whistleblowing effort by former Golden Gate Funeral Home employee Isaiah Darris. First off, let me just say, Isaiah Darris, we really appreciate you. Thank you for doing whatever it is that you had to do to get these photos out, because this is a critical story that absolutely does need to be talked about. This photo that Isaiah took said, he's basically took these photos to prove that Golden Gate Funeral Home is storing bodies in unrefrigerated trailers, which is not only unethical, but a potential violation of state law that stipulates, quote, if final disposition will not occur within 24 hours, a body must be embalmed, refrigerated, or placed in an improved, sealed container. This is what Isaiah had to say. From the looks of that U-Haul trailer, that could be your mother, my father, my grandmother. The body that was face down with no clothes on, that's very inappropriate. When I tell you guys that Golden Gate just did a very big funeral not too long ago. The woman that was actually shot by police in Fort Worth, she came to Dallas to be buried. Golden Gate did her funeral out there. Like I said, they're a massive, massive, huge funeral home. Um, Isaiah supplied Spectrum News One with additional photos that he says he took depicting deplorable conditions inside the funeral home in an overcrowded morgue and wherever else the bodies could be kept. Darris says only some of the bodies were embalmed. Others were simply left exposed on stretchers and on cots on the floor. There are bodies. I mean, we've heard horror stories like this before, right? I've heard some really bad horror stories about some funeral homes. I mean, it apparently has gotten so bad that one family received ashes, and come to find out it wasn't even their mother's ashes, from Golden Gate Funeral Home. Isaiah said this in quotes in his emailed complaint. Golden Gate Funeral Home needs to be investigated and held accountable for the way they treat the deceased. Over the duration of the 6 months I have been employed at Golden Gate, they have not followed any of the state and federal rules. The owner of Golden Gate, John Beckwith, has denied breaking any laws or having any knowledge of the conditions described by former employee Isaiah Darris. Now, previously in other cases, U-Haul, the company U-Haul, has actually um, like discontinued doing business with certain people and slash companies when finding out that their U-Hauls were used to store dead bodies. You know, U-Haul does not want to be associated to that in any way whatsoever. I mean, could you imagine that? You're storing dead bodies in a U-Haul truck, and then you return the truck to U-Haul so that some other sucker can pick the truck up and move their furniture? Are you freaking kidding me? I couldn't imagine. Now, this is what John Beckwith is saying, okay? He's denying that any laws have been broken. He's denying any knowledge of these conditions and says this, quote, I never used a U-Haul for storage. I never have, never will, said Beckwith, quote, I'm telling you that didn't happen here. That rental truck photo was staged by Isaiah himself or whoever took the picture. And I say that because, I mean, that if that's what Mr. Beckwith is saying is his defense, then I guess we'll put the statement out there, right? As to the allegation and photographs of multiple unattended and uncared for corpses on gurneys inside the facility, Beckwith accuses Harris, whom he said had recently been fired by one of his employees, of deliberately trying to sabotage his business. Quote, looks like he kind of staged some things and took a sheet off of someone's head. I don't have a problem with that photo. I do have a problem with a person who would expose a deceased person like that. What about how you would store a deceased person? Beckwith says he's not aware of any other complaints against Golden Gate, but Kyle Smith, who is an attorney for the Texas Funeral Services Commission, has told Spectrum News 1 that they're looking into the matter. However, even up to right now, it is not clear if an official investigation has been opened, and officials are currently prohibited from disclosing the existence of an official investigation. Why? Why? Now, Isaiah remained skeptical and has said he was not fired from Golden Gate, but walked away from his job last month when the conditions persisted. He said he is going public because what remains behind is an unacceptable, unthinkable nightmare. But there's more. There's actually more. Give me a second here. I'm going to pull this up. Oh, there's a little video we're going to check out here. This is like a trailer of this show that they had on TLC. Now, there's one other. I want to talk about this really quick. Let's see. So there apparently is a situation that has occurred in which another former employee, Chantel Major, told us, well, I'm not sure about the name because they did say they had to correct the name, but told Spectrum News that she had witnessed the bodies being stacked in the rental truck last summer. Quote, there's no room in the freezer, so they are just stored. There are bodies everywhere. They are just stored like that. quote, end quote. Now, we do know that the pandemic absolutely did cause an influx in unfortunately people that, needing services by an undertaker. And one of the we not I don't think everyone has handled that in the proper way necessarily. Like some businesses have handled it, other, like hospitals. We have seen, refrigerated trucks being used to store bodies for hospitals that have an overflow. This right here sounds like a really bad situation that seems to have really, really been prompted by the pandemic. Isaiah actually did file an official complaint with the Texas Funeral Service Commission on March the 8th. So just last month, the official complaint was filed. Come to find out, Golden Gate has the most complaints in the Dallas area in regards to funeral homes. Now, could that be because of the number of or the amount of business they're doing? Is that possibly why that's happening? I don't know, but we need more information, and I'm somewhat doing this video because I know that some people are going to see it, and I'm hoping it will kick something off. Just letting you guys know that we are absolutely watching. We are absolutely paying attention to this, and no business owner should even try to avoid an investigation for something like this if they don't feel they're guilty. If Mr. Beckwith is not guilty, as he is stating, then there should be no problem for an investigation to ensue. The organization, the Texas Funeral Services Commission, has received 4 complaints against Golden Gate since last September. 4 complaints. One of the corpses in one of the photos, one of these corpses that was being stored in the back of this U-Haul rental truck, was not covered by a sheet and appeared to be in an unacceptable state of decay. The question becomes, are they doing that because they know they're not going to be showing that body, and they know that they will, eventually end up cremating that body? If you are running a funeral home and you have nowhere to put the bodies, don't take any more bodies. It's that simple. You don't have to be, if you can't do it, you can't do it. If you can't swing it, you can't swing it, right? Needless to say, an investigation is absolutely ongoing at this time. There is a family right now who's pissed because they feel like they have no closure. They don't have their mother's ashes. They have no gravesite. And they were grieving their mother, Virginia Rankin. She died just over a year ago. The ashes inside that were given to this family honestly could be anyone's. They're saying that Golden Gate handled Virginia Rankin's body January of 2020, then lied and covered up a cremation that they were actually supposed to be witnessing. They don't even know if the ashes they have is their mother's. The Palmer family is now suing them, the popular Golden Gate Funeral Home, and its high-profile owner, John Beckwith Jr. They are alleging not only that their mother was cremated without their knowledge, but that they were not told it had happened for more than a month before being given a cardboard box containing what they've been told are their mother's ashes. But they really don't know if that's their mother's ashes. Now, here's the information I'm going to end this on before I show this video. Not 4 complaints, 6 active complaints. My bad. 6 active complaints against Golden Gate's 2 facilities. One of them is linked to these photographs we've been talking about. And the most disturbing photo is part of the whistleblower's complaint, which that whistleblower has been identified as Isaiah Darris. Again, Darris is saying these are rotting corpses. They're being stacked in an unrefrigerated U-Haul rental truck parked at Golden Gate this past summer during a period of high volume for all funeral homes during the pandemic. Yay. Okay. Check this.
We loved her and we miss her. And now we don't have nothing to keep from her. We don't know. We don't have nothing.
Hey, Kimberly Hicks.
Anitra Palmer of Dallas still grieves the loss of her mother, Virginia Rankin, who died just over a year ago. But her grief is accompanied by anger that she and her family feel every time they see this.
They're doing 5 to 10
black
viewings
box
a
of
night.
cremated remains with their mother's name, but they say the ashes inside could be anyone's. They claim the mortuary that handled their mother's body, Golden Gate Funeral Home in Dallas, lied and tried to cover up their mother's cremation, which took place without their knowledge.
Just to keep having to relive this is unbelievable.
So
it's just like it happened yesterday.
I am hurt. I have no closure. We have no ashes. We have no gravesite. We have nothing. This is not how it's supposed to go.
The Palmer family is suing the Golden Gate Funeral Home and its owner, John Beckwith Jr. The lawsuit alleges that their mother was not only cremated without their knowledge, but that Golden Gate lied about it for more than a month.
Much love. It's really good
Ryan
to see
Sutton
you.
is their attorney.
There's no telling how many families have had their loved ones.
Hey to everybody in the chat. Sorry if I didn't say hi.
Given the wrong remains, or come to a point where we, like in our case, where we're unlikely to be ever be able to tell if it's the right remains or not, and the documentation shows that it's more likely not.
According to the Texas Funeral Service Commission, which licenses and inspects funeral homes in the state, there are 6 active complaints against Golden Gate's 2 Texas locations. One of those complaints was filed by former Golden Gate employee Isaiah Darris and centers on photos he says he took while working as a funeral attendant at the South Dallas location on I-35. One photo depicts what Darris says are decaying corpses stacked in an unrefrigerated rental truck parked behind the funeral home this past summer.
The looks of that U-Haul truck, man, that...
I just want to pause this for a second so you all can see this is the photo. It's been blurred out. This is the whistleblower photo that Isaiah Darris sent to 187 recipients on that email thread, which sparked an investigation into this funeral home. Right, they're blaming it on coronavirus. That's what everyone's doing. Yeah. Shout out to Dallas. Shout out to all my peeps in Dallas. Much love, you guys. Y'all know Dallas is my hometown. Many times they rush families out. It's always great to go live. We're getting, information in. It looks like, thank you very much, Kimberly. It looks like some here, of course, I do have an audience here in Dallas, and some people are saying, this is not the first time they've been in trouble. They had an unlicensed embalmer at one point at their location on Overton and Keast. I'm not sure, I'd have to validate that, but this is the photo that was taken. That is a U-Haul rental truck. Let's continue.
That's really vexing. That could be, that could be, your mother, my father, my grandmother, especially the body that was face down with no clothes on. It's very inappropriate.
Darris shared other photos he says he took of corpses in a cramped room and wherever else bodies could be stored. Some embalmed, others left exposed on stretchers and on cots on the floor.
Look at the filth.
There's bodies outside in the garage. They're all, they've been all in the hallway, blocking the doors, blocking the exit doors. So, it's like I said, it's like a slaughterhouse. And unless you go behind the scenes to actually see it, you would never think that just being from up front, that it looks the way that it does from the back.
There's no room in the freezer. So they're just stored. There's bodies everywhere. They're just stored like that.
Chantel Major worked at Golden Gate with Darris. She says she witnessed the bodies being stacked in the rental truck last summer.
What if an inspector from the state were to walk in there today? What would they likely see?
A horror film. They will see bodies everywhere, stored places they shouldn't. They will smell decomposing bodies, all type of human decomposition matter that no one, even us that work in the morgue, should be subject to.
Major says she was fired recently for speaking out about substandard conditions at the funeral home. Darris claims he left Golden Gate on his own. But Golden Gate owner John Beckwith Jr. says Darris was fired in February, but did not say why. Beckwith also declined to talk with us on camera, which is surprising, as it appears he is anything but camera shy.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My name is John Beckwith Jr.
Beckwith was one of the stars of his own TV reality show called Best Funeral Ever on the TLC cable channel. Over the course of 2 seasons, Golden Gate gained fame as one of the most flamboyant funeral homes in the nation. As for the allegation that behind the scenes, corpses are being improperly stored and stacked, Beckwith told us by phone, quote, "I've never used a U-Haul for storage. I'm telling you that didn't happen here. That was staged by Isaiah himself or whoever took the picture." As for Darris's other photographs of multiple corpses stored in a back room, Beckwith told us, quote, "Looks like he kind of staged some things and took a sheet off somebody's head. I don't have a problem with that photo. I do have a problem with a person who would expose a deceased person like that."
Over the years, they have been the most consistent funeral home I know of in Texas that's been complained about.
Jim Bates of the Funeral Consumers Alliance of Texas has been in the mortuary business for 30 years. He says his organization has received 4 complaints against Golden Gate since September.
There's an individual right here.
He had not seen the photo of the bodies in the back end of the truck until we showed him.
But mostly, of course, it's just terrible looking because it's not covered up. But it's stiff, and it's turning colors.
And what does that tell you?
It's not embalmed.
And the problem with that is?
Rapid decomposition of a human body.
State law says?
State law says that body's got to be refrigerated in 24 hours or it's got to be embalmed.
We also showed the photos to the Palmer family attorneys who say this could help explain the unauthorized cremation of Virginia Rankin.
You should have maybe given me a warning on this one. This is pretty bad. Wow. What we're seeing here is not carelessness, but gross disregard for the value of life.
The Palmer family feels Golden Gate is taking on more business than it can handle and is inviting disaster and doing a disservice to the community.
People all throughout Dallas County, they trust and believe in Golden Gate. Yeah. It's not just this family.
How many families they done did this to?
Right.
But we loved our mama so much that we had to do something.
We had to speak.
Wow. I want to give a special thank you to Isaiah Darris, who put these photos out that kickstarted this investigation. I will absolutely keep my eyes peeled on this investigation, and it is very, very concerning. Very, very concerning, to say the very least. Unbelievable. And I'm hearing, they can do anywhere from 5 to 10 viewings in a night. I don't even know how they're doing it. I don't know how they're managing. But more to come on this story. More to come. By the way, I just want to say really, really great piece by Brett Shipp for Spectrum News 1. Brett Shipp is the author of this article, and he's the author of this, this documentary piece. You would call it like a short film. This is our classic exposure films. Everybody's getting aired out in 2021, right? And And I absolutely appreciate those of you who, are in the chat, who are engaging. You never know who's on the other end of that device, right? More to come on this story, guys. You guys have a really good rest of your night. I'll see y'all next time.